Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen and Stephanie here for our our sew along with it
Good
all.
morning.
And let us know if you can see and hear us okay. We've got quite a few people in the comments. Just to let you know about the technology this morning. Stephanie's looking at two different screens. I'm looking at three in here, and to do all this, the tech part. So if we screw up, and when I say we, I mean me, on the technology, just bear with us. So I see Nancy is here, and Donna, and Michelle, the quilter. New Quilting Life with Janice is here. March Ann, Tamara, Geraldine, Melanie, Judy, Dana, Beverly, Ron. Okay, so we've got a few. So I'll just say hello, everybody. Glad you can join us. And maybe we'll just give a couple of seconds here more for everybody to come in. Geraldine says, yes, all is good. Diana's here. So this is great.
Hey.
This is my first time doing this kind of thing. So hopefully it all works out. So Stephanie,
Yes.
What's new and exciting in general at your end before we get into the main event here?
New and exciting. Well,
I
don't know. Not too much. This sew along.
Yep.
And then I'm doing an all-star sew along, which is just a star block of the week on my channel on Saturdays.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what else. I'm going to teach a class for Soya in a few weeks, so that'll be fun.
Is that going to be online or in person?
Online, yeah. So lots of stuff coming up. I've got a retreat to go to, not that I'm hosting, so I actually just get to relax and go to it at the end of February. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of stuff coming up this year. I'm really excited about. So yeah.
Okay, well, you've got lots on your plate. And I was saying earlier before we went live on here to Stephanie, I've got a bunch of projects. There's one behind me on my design wall, as you can see, that I'm playing with. This is not its final format. I have more things to do with it. And then I'm working on another quilt. And then there's a whole lot of other things doing this week. I said I began to feel just a teensy bit overwhelmed, but I'll get over it. So who's come in since we said initial greeting? P. Gubertini?
Yeah, Pamela. Hi.
Oh, you know her. Okay, I don't see. Some of you people, you go to Stephanie's and I don't know you. Some of you come to me and I don't know you. So we've got intersections here of things happening.
Yeah, so I'll get to know some of yours and you can get to know some of my people. So
yeah. So we've got Laura, we've got Nadia, Heidi. Okay, well, shall we do an overview of what we've got planned this morning, and then we'll get to it? So, do you want to start? I don't want to monopolize the show.
No, you're fine. So the first thing that we need to talk about is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we are going to sew a pattern, and Stephen can pop it up for you because I only have it in black and white. It's called Stargazer, and it's from Edita Sitar.
And I'll pop it up here.
Yep, because I only have the black and white version. And that's what we're going to be sewing. So it's a really beginner-friendly quilt, and Stephen found this one, which was great. And it's just squares and half square triangles, so nothing to be afraid of. But it makes a really good size quilt. It's 72 by 72. So I'm really excited to put this one together. And the link for the pattern will be in the show notes below in the description box.
Yes, for today. So yeah, it'll be there for you, and it's free, as we said. So all you have to do is just add it to bag, it says on here. And I don't think you guys are seeing this, are you?
No.
No, I don't see it. Okay, let me see what. Okay, first technical glitch. Why are we not seeing it? Because it went up there. Okay, I shall correct the problem. Let me stop this for a moment. And
somebody said, I love how Stephen's monitor is up high, and from our point of view, Stephanie is displayed above Stephen, so it's Brady Bunch situation as he looks at Stephanie.
Yeah, that was the plan. We planned that.
That's cool. Okay, hi, down there.
Let's see if I can work here. Okay. Where is my
There we
Zoom.
go.
Sorry, people.
That's okay.
It's
You've
not
got it up
coming up
there
here.
now.
Oh, is it?
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
So that's the pattern Stargazer. You can see it on Steven's screen now. And like he said, it's a free download. All you have to do is add it to your cart, and go through it like you're purchasing something, but it's not going to ask you for anything. So, and then just download it, print it, and sew along with us.
and we're going to go through the pattern quickly because we have some suggestions that might make your life a little easier, might make your life a little more complicated. We're not sure. So let me take this off the screen here. And let's just see.
Oh, yep, there
I
we
know
are
what
again. You get to see our mugs again.
Okay. Yeah. Good. And I just want to go. I'm sitting here playing around with every button so I can
No, that's
see.
okay. You're fine. So what you'll need to do over the next week while Steven's working on the tech stuff is look through the pattern, pick your fabrics, and then cut them up. And next week we'll come back and we'll start to sew together. Like I said, it's pretty simple. It's squares and half square triangles. So if you're a beginner, you can do this because we're going to help you.
Oops. Okay. Why is it going to? That's not what I want. Oh, wait. This you should in a second here.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. Yours is coming up faster than mine is. Ah, here we go. Okay. Flip it over. There we go. Yay. Okay. There it is. I've got a time delay here of about 10 to 12 seconds, I think, from what I actually see and what I do. And
Gotcha.
it's confusing me, which doesn't take much. Okay. So, we've already said we have the link to the pattern and it's a free pattern, so you can download it. Do something that I never do. Read it. Read through it. It's a very easy pattern. Now, if I can put up here on the screen for you the actual pattern. And it should be coming up here in a second.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, there. All right, so this is the actual pattern. It's a PDF, and this shows you what the final quilt looks like. And in this pattern, it's very simple. It's all half square triangles, and they list it all right here for you and how to make them. And next week, we will have a very short little video that I made showing you how to make half square triangles, just in case you are a real beginner. I will show you a method for making 2 of them at a time, which makes things a little faster. But it's very, very simple. And it goes down. Let me pull this down a little bit more. It shows you the layout for the quilt as well. And then it shows fabrics they suggest, because this was a fabric line, I think that was developed by the designer, which is, how do I say her name, Stephanie?
Edita Sitar.
Edita Sitar. Yeah, you've probably heard of her. She's from Laundry Basket Quilts. She's pretty famous. But you don't have to use those fabrics, obviously. Yeah. And we are going to talk about a few little things you might want to consider. First thing you might want to consider is in here, they're talking about 10-inch squares. Now, if you have a layer cake or a couple of layer cakes, you could use those. And you've picked the color scheme you want. You should have some lights and you should have some darks, and they tell you if you're using 10-inch squares how many of each of these you're going to need. So we're going to show you, first of all, what we have. Well, we'll show you that in a minute, what colors we've picked out. But for next week, you need to pick your colors and you need to do your initial cutting with this. And it's all explained right here. It's very clear. I would suggest you ignore the fabric requirements. We found these confusing, or at least I did. Did you find this confusing?
I did too. Yeah, I thought it was easier just to look at the pattern and then pick from there what I needed. So
yeah, this stuff about the yardage, if you take here, you'll read this. It says, divide the fat quarter bundle into 19 dark fabrics for fabric A and 5 light fabrics. Add the 5 light fat quarters to the 1/3 yard fabric cuts for fabric B. This is what confused me. Mm-hmm. If you have enough layer cake or fat quarter bundles, when you pick out your colors, keeping in mind how many 10-inch squares you need, I think you can ignore that thing about fabric B.
I agree. I agree completely.
Yeah. The only thing we could come up in the conclusion to this, why they did that, is because the fat quarter bundle they're suggesting maybe didn't have enough.
Yeah.
And so this was additional yardage because they give you the numbers for the fabrics. So
yeah, if you scroll down to the fabric that they used, if you look down at the bottom, they didn't have a lot of cream in that line. So I think that's what they had to do. Exactly what you said is adds more yardage.
yeah, because the numbers all match up to this as well. My suggestion is this: if you don't want to get confused, ignore this box. Focus on this in the italics, and that should get you through. Another thing that was confusing about the pattern in what they've set up is if you look at this diagram, they show your layout. So there's a it's the 9.5-inch square, 2 unit ones, which are the half square triangles, 2 more of the 9.5-inch squares, 2 more unit ones, another 9.5-inch square. But if you look at the cover, that corner piece looks pretty much like a half square triangle, not a solid.
It does, yes.
I mean, you can follow this any way you want to. You'll have to do, make some notes about the planning of it. But I am following this diagram for mine, because I think it's going to make the stars stand out more if I have like solid squares in each of the.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing too. I'm going to do those pieces as solid squares. I'm not going to make those half square triangles.
Yeah. So that's just a couple of things we want to tell you about the pattern, and that's why I strongly suggest you read all the way through it. Actually, this first instruction is the basic one on how to make your half square triangles. After that, it's just putting them together in the rows to get your design. So it's very, very easy with that. Okay, is there anything else you want to say right now, just in general, about the
about the pattern? No, I think you covered it all. That's great.
Okay, so just before we go on to the next thing we want to talk to, I think we should take a look and see what people are saying in the comments. So if anybody has questions, let me just cursor up here. A lot of people still saying good morning to everybody. We got people from Maryland, from Tennessee, from Kentucky, from Southwest Michigan, from New York State, from Wisconsin, and I know we have some from, there's at least one person here from Saskatchewan, which is Dana.
Yeah.
Dana, and I'm sure there's a few other Canadians on here. Ron is from out east Coast.
I see somebody from Florida and Texas and Australia.
Yay. Oh, Australia. Yeah. Oh, great. Wow, that's really cool. So we've got people from all over the place, and I don't see anybody asking any specific questions, although March-Ann has made a comment. She says, always find her patterns a little confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this particular one, though, ignore the diagrams, follow the instructions. It's half square triangles. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's just for you to pick out your colors. And I guess the one thing is, if you want your stars to show up in the pattern, make sure you pick the number of lights and the number of darks that they talk about. Have good contrast, I think. So speaking of that, do we want to show our fabrics?
Sure.
Okay, so why don't you show yours first?
Okay. So I was telling Stephen before we started that I've got it down to 2 choices, and they're completely different. So I need a little help picking. I looked at the pattern and I noticed that they were mostly muted tones. And so I picked a line that was muted tones. And then I pulled out this other fabric line that is not muted tones, but it's gorgeous. So I'll show you guys these. The first set of fabrics I have are these beautiful fabrics from Lella Boutique. It's called Flower Pot. Beautiful blues and greens and rust and creams. So this made me think of the pattern as it is, because it was very muted tones. But then I pulled this out, and this is what I'm leaning towards right now. is the purple and green.
That's going to be
It's
pretty.
cream. So
That's my pick.
I think that might end up being my pick, even though I started with the muted ones. So we'll see. You'll have to come back next week to see which one I finally decided on.
But the muted ones too are what I said earlier before we went live. They look very close to the style that is suggested in the pattern too. So if you want something that's more traditional,
Yeah.
kind of in its look, go with that. If you want something bold, like me, I love bold. And I'll show you what I have picked here. So I just have to pull this up so you can see it. So I don't usually do a lot of things in purple. But this time I am, because I happen to have charm packs that I want to use up. And here's something that's another variation that we're going to talk about, in that I don't like working with 10-inch squares. They are just too big for me. I find them a little cumbersome. So I've changed the pattern to 5-inch squares, charm pack size. Some of them I've had to cut out of my yardage as well. And I am mixing, I'm doing something some people get upset with this. I'm mixing batiks with prints as well, with cotton. So, well, batiks are cotton too, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Now, I have figured out how many of these I'm going to need, and I'm going to need a lot more. Essentially, I have to double their count. So I went to the diagram on the last page of the pattern, and I counted up how many solid squares I needed and how many half square triangles I needed. The solid squares measured in this case then to 4.5 inches, and the same with the finished half square triangles, 4.5 inches. You trim them down to that, and there's very little to trim off when you're using 5-inch squares. So I worked it out mathematically. So if some of you want to go that route, what you need is, you're going to need 48 4.5-inch squares, which are the solids in dark, and you'll need 52 5-inch light squares. Well, when I said the 4.5-inch squares, that's when you trim them down. You'll have to trim the 5-inch squares down to 4.5 inches if you're doing it from a charm pack. So you need 52 light and 52 dark to make the unit 1, the half square triangles for this, because you're going to be making, if you go by their dimensions for the finished product, you're going to need 104 half square triangles. I had kind of forgot that. So you see, I'm showing you my fabrics there. That's not all of them. I took this picture when I had half the number. And then I realized this morning when I woke up, I went, wait, yeah, I'll get it the right width, but the length will be short. I need to make sure I double that. So yeah, but it's half square triangles. I'm using 5-inch squares. So not a big problem, because I can zip through those in no time. So whatever is in your comfort zone or whatever you like, you can go with that. Is anybody asking any questions about this?
No, just lots of comments about everybody loving the purples and things like that. Ron said he might try doing it in solids. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Pamela said she's sorry she's late, but she'll watch it from the beginning. But she said hopefully we can use the Acu quilt since Stephen loves his.
Yes, you can. And that's what I use to cut some of my squares. I have the 5-inch die, and yeah, and it makes easy work of it. So if you've got an Acu quilt and you've got the 5-inch die, yeah, by all means, go for it. I don't know, there probably is an Acu quilt die, but I don't think I have one. I have to look through my stuff and see. That would actually cut your fabric so that you could make the half square triangles without doing the line draw from the diagonal. A little late for me now because I've already cut them all. I cut my squares out, but that's okay. I don't mind drawing the line. But yeah, there probably is one that would finish at 4.5. I'll have to look in my reference guides to see what I've got with that. I'll tell you about that next week if I do have that. So that is the pattern, our suggestions. Have fun with this. I am going to screw up. I've already screwed up a little bit in my choices and things like that. But It is so easy. It's so adaptable. You can do whatever you want with it. Was there anything more to talk about the pattern? Because we have something to show them too, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. The pattern, we showed them the pattern and our fabric choices. And and the other thing is Steve and I were talking about is once you've chosen your fabric, we would love it if you took a picture and sent it to either Stephen or I. If you send it to me, I'll forward it on to Stephen for you. So we can share it with everybody. And so we can see what you guys picked, because this is going to be really cool to see like all your choices too. So.
And my email address is in the show notes. It's in with all the schedule. We have put up a schedule for what we're doing for the next little while, but we can do a quickie overview of that if you're interested. January 11th, that was the day. We're just announcing the pattern, talking about it in general, as you've already seen. And then and we've got you the link as well in there for the pattern. And then next week, we're going to ask you to have your fabrics all picked out that you want to use and cut. And that's pretty quick, the cutting with this, because if you're doing 10-inch squares, fine. Even if you're doing the 5-inch, as I said, if you have a layer cake or you have a charm pack, it makes it even faster, but it's not difficult cutting. So we're going to give you some instruction on how to make HSTs, one way to make them. I've already done a little video that I'll plug in next week so you can see it, but a lot of you are experienced quilters. I'm sure whatever method works for you to make 2 at a time, the right size. And I'll talk about trimming them up too. I've got a couple of methods for trimming them up after you've got them made. So then you should send your pictures of your fabric choices to me. It says that in there. You should send them before the 18th, like the day before at least, because it'll take me some time to get them organized so I could show everything. And my email address is there for you. And I think in the schedule, it says send pictures of your fabric choices and or pictures of HST for January the 25th. No, we want just the fabric we want to see next week. The HSTs would be the week after, whatever you have at that. And then we just go from here and we're going through the instructions. Now, those of you that are more advanced, you may find this a little slow, so you may want to work ahead. And if you do, fine. We don't care. That's not a biggie. But we've allotted lots of time to do each of the instructions, just so nobody feels overwhelmed, because if you're like me and like Stephanie, you've got multiple projects on the go. So yeah, so it's flexible. And we will run through right through to the 22nd. And on the 22nd, we've got show and tell of the completed tops. Okay. Some of you might actually have the whole quilt done. Quilted, bound, yay, maybe. We'll take those pictures too. But we have set up a date for if you get your quilt completely done by March the 10th, that you can send the pictures, and on the Idiot Quilter and on Stephanie's, we'll share all those pictures and we'll just put them up on our own channels, not as a live, but just as a slideshow, kind of a trunk show kind of a deal. So we're running how many weeks? Counting this week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's not strenuous.
Yeah.
And, you know,
this schedule allows time for people who work full time. Stephen and I don't. So we want to make sure that those people would have a chance to, catch up too. So,
yeah. And just one other thing, I got another picture here. I'm going to flip over. Here is a version of this quilt to give you an idea of what the final one would look like. This is slightly different from the pattern because the center section's a little different the way that they have done it. They have a secondary design showing up in here. But that just gives you sort of an overview, kind of an idea of what it could look like as well. Okay. So, any questions?
I don't see any questions, just comment. Somebody said, Nancy said, you're so organized, Stephen. Love it. That's why I love Stephen, you guys, because him and I are on the same wavelength. We're planners.
Planners. Mine comes from my teaching background. So, yes, I have a lesson plan, people. Right?
Yeah. March Ann asked, will you be on 9 Eastern Standard Time each week? Yes. But if you can't make that time, you can always catch the replay.
Yeah. It'll go, YouTube will go and put this up as a replay, and you can check it out. And we'll have them all up there. And I have set up a playlist on my channel for them all that says Stephanie and Stephen's Sew Along, and there'll be the date for each one. So if down the road, I mean, I'll never remove it. It'll be up there for all time, okay? Kind of thing. So you can come back to it years later and check it out, kind of a thing. Okay, so not seeing any questions, we do have something else we want to show you. And
Yes.
do you want to start?
Sure. So a lot of you watched us do the Missouri Star Quilting Company Advent box, and we had so much fun doing that. And we got a lot of comments saying, are you guys actually going to do the projects? Are you going to show us the projects if you do them? So Stephen and I went through, and he and I have a lot of similar taste. So a lot of the projects, we were like, nope, not doing that one. It was the same. Yep, we're going to do that one. So we picked out the ones that we both liked, and we're going to show them to you now. We're going to show you one a week because I still have to do one of them. So the first one we decided to show you, because this is the first one that I finished, and I think it might have been the first one that Stephen did too, was the Quilt More, Worry Less wall hanging. It's the one that had the applique word pieces on it. So here's my version.
Oh, guess what? I just realized. Oh, I love
mine in black fabric, and I did variegated thread. So that was so much fun to make.
Keep talking, because I forgot about that one.
You have to grab it. Yeah.
Off the wall.
So it was very, very easy. The sewing machine and the words were all already had the, I can't think of the word, interfacing on the back to stick it right on. All I had to do was iron it on, sew it down, and then on the white fabric, and then border it with the colorful charm pack that they gave us. So I just kind of made mine rainbowy, which I love.
How did you, what stitch did you use for your applique?
I just went around the edge with a straight stitch, because that's the machine I had up, and it'll sort of be like a raw edge if I don't think it'll ever ravel though, because honestly, I'm not going to use this as like, I'm not going to be washing it or using anything like it. It's going to go on my wall, so it probably won't actually unravel. Yeah, so, and then I bound it in black because I didn't want the color on the binding to take away from the color around the hanging. So.
And it makes the color pop too, the black binding.
Yeah.
But
so
what I really love about yours is I love that quilting design.
The quilting, yeah, you can see it more on the back. And I used a rainbow variegated thread because, going with the rainbow theme.
Yep. Yep, I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mine, it's going to look very much like hers, except for a few details. Okay, so here is mine. And if you notice my quilting, I just did serpentine stitch with my walking foot across it. And my backing is white with that, so it doesn't really show up. But when I did the applique, you can't really see it. Let's see. There you go. I used a blanket stitch, but I used Invisifil. I think it's from Wonderfil. And basically it's a sort of an invisible thread, but what it does is it comes in slightly different shades, and it'll pick up the color that's in what you're doing. I didn't do a blanket stitch around the sewing machine. I did a straight stitch around it, but used the same thread. So I am not a person that used to like applique, but more and more that I do it, the more I like doing it. So, and I did the same. Now, I didn't use a black border. I just used some blue that I had in my stash as well from it. But same idea. I didn't want it to take away too much from the
color.
The color.
Yeah, well, the blue looks really good too. I think any darker color like that, like your choice, my choice, would, keep from taking away from the other.
Like, I really like this, and it hangs in a prominent spot in my sewing room now. So that was one of the things from Missouri Star that I really liked. And we have, what, about in the coming weeks, we have two more.
I think 2 more projects that we're going to show you that we finished. Yeah. So
stay tuned for that. Okay. Is there anything we have forgotten?
I don't think so. Let me look at my notes just to
Yeah,
make
that's what I'm
sure.
doing too. I'm looking at my notes too.
Yep,
Forgetting.
more note people.
Yeah.
I think that's it for this week. So just gather up your fabrics, get them pressed and cut, and then next week we'll start sewing. So you'll actually see us sewing.
Yeah. Well, you might see Stephanie sewing. I might be showing what I have sewn. Only reason being is I don't think I can be in two places at once for the technical
Oh,
part.
yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. Well, that's why I've done you will see me sewing to make the half square triangles because I did it as a video because it's easier for that way. So yeah, but who knows? But anyways. Okay, so any questions? Anybody?
Let's see. Let me look at the chat.
Anybody? Anybody? Fears?
Love those. Everybody said very nice, Stephen. Love them both. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, well, seeing no more questions, then get your pattern, read it, pick out your colors, cut your fabric. And we'll see you back here next week to go on to the next stage of it all. Okay, so everybody have a great day, and we're going to sign off. So see you later.
Bye.